Hello, Year 6. Welcome back. It's Thursday's Big Read, our third session of the week, seeing as we started on Tuesday. So let's have a look at the WALT for today. So today, you're going to be learning to identify different ways that authors develop their characters. So obviously, in any fiction, in any narrative, you need to be able to build up your character, make them a believable, likable, and someone you can engage with for your audience. And writers do this in various different ways. So the Wilf, what I'll be looking for is you giving your opinions on what a character is like and how they feel. Like I say, that is your opinion, but you do need to support it with evidence from the text, as we'll look at today. I want you to be giving justification for our opinions. That's your reasons, giving reasons for your opinions. Justification means reasons, or roughly means reasons. And then finally, to identify instances when the show don't tell technique is being used. So that is when the author is showing us something that the character is doing, saying, thinking, and therefore we can work out what they're thinking, what they're feeling from that, rather than just being told such and such is sad. Actually being shown things that let us know that they're sad. That's a much higher order reading skill and a much higher order writing skill. As always, anything we learn in reading can then be used and applied in our writing. That's why the two go hand in hand. Right then, let's get on and have a look at what we're doing today. So, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to read for you page 9, this first page on chapter 2. And as I'm reading it, I want you to be thinking, how do you think Elliot is actually feeling at this point in the story? I'll then tell you what I think, and I'll show you how I would have evidenced that. So, chapter 2. Home is where the farm is. At 4:30 p.m, when Elliot had arranged all the books in the history department into alphabetical order for Boyle's detention, he finally made it outside, into the darkening but still very welcome evening air. The crowds of proud parents, eager to drive their children home, had long since left, but no one had been there for Elliot earlier, and no one was there for him now. No one ever was. With a quick backward glance, Elliot dived off the driveway, hopped over the school fence into the fields beyond, and started the long walk home. I'm not going to read that last sentence because that carries on over onto the next page, so I'll let you carry on reading that from your packs in a moment. But thinking about things that have come up there and thinking about Elliot as a character, I think there's a few key bits that can help us work out how he is probably feeling. So the first thing I'd like you to do is I'd like you to think of those 4 words. Which one do you think best sums up Elliot at this point in the story? Have a bit of a think. You can write it down if you want to, but you don't need to. This is more of a, if we were in school, for example, this would be something we'd be discussing with one another. You'd then be giving me your opinions, telling me why you think it would be having a chat about it. So kind of do that yourself in your own head. Think about which one and think about why. Always ask yourself why. Don't just take your first answer that pops into your head. That's absolutely fine to be the right answer, but you need to think about why that's the one you're going with. Okay. I personally would say that Elliot is quite... Oh, didn't mean to go back there. I think at this point in the story, Elliot is quite sad, or potentially a bit nervous, but I would say the most likely one there is sad. And I will go on to the next page now and tell you why I think that. So I think that in this first page, the author is making us sympathize with Elliot. I think she's making us realize that he has a lot of things in his life that we might maybe feel sympathetic towards. We might understand that he is feeling a bit sad, that he's not as happy as he could be. And the way that she does this for me is by making it clear that Elliot seems to be alone quite a lot, but no one had been there for Elliot earlier, and no one was there for him now. No one ever was. That last bit particularly, no one ever was. No one was ever there for him. That suggests an awful lot. Now, the writer at no point is saying Elliot feels sad or Elliot is unhappy. She is showing us, not telling us, by giving us those hints and those clues. And that's what we're focusing in on today. That's what I want you to be trying to find in each of these bits of text. So let's have a go at that then. So what I'd like you to do, I'd like you to read over this page. This is the second page of chapter 2. And I'd like you to identify areas where the author is telling us how the character feels. So not showing us, telling us how the character feels. I'd also like you to identify areas where the author is showing us how Elliot is feeling. So by all means, you've got the copy of the text. You can highlight this, you can annotate this, you can underline things. I don't mind what you do. Alternatively, you could just write out in your book the bits where that is being told and being shown. I don't mind how you do it. It can be annotated straight onto the actual text itself, or you can be writing this into that blank jotter book that we sent home, that blank exercise book that we sent home for you. So that's the first task. I'd like to have a think about that. When you've done that, start the video again, because you're going to pause it in a moment. When you've done that, start the video again, and I'll go over with you where I think we are being told how Elliot is feeling and where we are being shown how Elliot is feeling. Speak to you again in a moment. Okay, so I think there's several areas where we're actually being told how Elliot is feeling. So I think we are being told here. So we're being told that he is feeling content. That made him content, simply to wander through the fields as the stars assembled above. Feeling content is sort of feeling fairly happy, fairly relaxed, fairly calm and chilled out. So at this point, Elliot is feeling all of those things, feeling quite content. I think here, we're also being told how Elliot is feeling. So we are being told that he doesn't know he is one of the better looking boys. So he's a little bit oblivious, we're being told there, a little bit aloof maybe, a little bit distant from the other groups. And that's backed up by the next point, that he didn't listen to what anyone said and he didn't care what anyone thought. He's clearly quite independent. He's clearly quite, maybe a bit isolated, but he's certainly happy to be distant from the main group of children. He doesn't listen to them. He doesn't really care what they're saying. He's not really involved. Potentially a little bit of a loner for whatever reason. And then here, we find out that he might have been considered quite popular. So we're being told that he could have been quite popular. But again, that's backing up this idea that he's quite aloof, he's quite independent, and that he's quite distant from the rest of the group. But there are bits where we're being shown. And I would say this is where we're being shown things. So right now, he didn't have time for friends. And besides, friends had parents, and parents asked too many questions. So I think there we are being shown that Elliot is quite a private, introverted character, likes to keep himself to himself. It's not saying that in so many words, but by his actions, we're being shown that. I also think that might suggest that Elliot potentially has something that he's hiding. And parents asked too many questions. Why is he worried about the questions they're asking? So he might be trying to hide something. So there you've got some examples where we're being told, but also some examples where we are being shown. So do have a think about the differences between those two, because that is your task for today. So your task for today then is to read through the rest of chapter 2 and identify ways in which the author uses show, not tell, to build her characters. You can do that exactly the same as we just practiced there. You can either use the text directly and highlight onto that text using one colour for the areas where we're being told and one colour for where we're being shown, or you can write it out into your books if it's something that you want to be able to then take a nice easy picture of, send in to me, really clearly laid out. You could just write tell and underline it, and then underneath that you can write down all the examples, all the quotes where we're being told how Elliot feels, and then you can have a little subheading that says show, underline that, and then write out all the areas where we're being shown how Elliot feels. As ever, when you've done that, if you can take a nice clear picture or scan that in or type it up, we've had all three ways so far. But if you could do one of those three, send it in to me and I'll be able to give you some feedback on that. Best of luck. Looking forward to seeing them. Hope you're enjoying Who Let the Gods Out. We're 2 chapters in now, so hopefully you're enjoying it. And I will see you, well, I won't see you tomorrow. I'll speak to you tomorrow I'll actually speak to you later for the English session, but I'll speak to you tomorrow about Big Read. But for now, goodbye.